Hey, I'm just finishing up my pilot episode for a show I've been working on for a while. And yes, I know I finished the script about 4 or 5 months ago, but I gotta make sure it's perfect. And there's a specific reason for that. You may be asking, what is that reason? Well, it's because the bar for indie animation is not set as low as it used to. See, back in the olden days of the internet, if you wanted to make an indie animation series, or specifically a pilot episode for an indie animation series you've been working on for a long time, you needed passable animation and writing that made people laugh. Now, you need an actual story, likable, unlikable characters, good direction, amazing writing, just absolutely phenomenal animation, and voice actors, indie or ones that have worked in straight up Disney projects. And part of the reason for that is, well, a little pilot back in 2019 that changed the internet forever. I'm of course talking about Vivian Madrano's Hazbin Hotel. And just to be clear, I'm not saying this is the first animated pilot ever. Like, that is far from what I'm saying. That's like saying Deadpool's the first R-rated comic book movie, when Blade and the director's cut of Spawn did it almost 20 years before they did. No. The analogy that I'm using is Deadpool popularized the R-rated comic book movies because they were right in the middle of the MCU's timeline. Whereas with indie animation, pilot episodes have been around for so long, but Hazbin Hotel is what popularized it. The pilot for Hazbin Hotel is what made people want to get their ideas out there, share it with the world, so then hopefully, just like Hazbin Hotel, they could get picked up by some other studio that could produce it and make it better. We're going to be looking at Hazbin Hotel as like a whole, like the show itself. Obviously, season 2 hasn't come out yet, but season 1 had such a big impact on the fandom, which I'm not going to talk about the fandom because that could be a whole other episode on its own. But yeah, I want to look at the first season and how it affected animation as a whole. Starting off with the animation, I don't think it's anything too special. I honestly like the animation from the pilot better because it's more expressive. The animation from the show is obviously more professional, but it's just not alive as the pilot was. They all had their own unique ways of moving, similar to how like the characters from, say, Hotel Transylvania, they all used to move in their own unique ways. In this one, they're all fairly stiff, and I'm not a big fan of the animation. There's honestly better animation in Helluva Boss, which I will get to later. Now on to the writing. It's pretty bad. I'm not even joking. The writing is not horrible, but my god, it could be so much better. The problem with Vivian Madrano is that she always defaults to swearing equals funny, which in some cases it is, like say Nostalgia Critic or the Angry Video Game Nerd, but the thing is they make other jokes leading up to when they swear, and they're usually angry. So whenever they're angry at something, they make jokes about it while they're angry, so they build up, so once they get angrier and angrier, the swearing just starts spewing out like it's rage. But Vivian Madrano struggles to comprehend that you need to build up to the swearing instead of having it just be the second word of every sentence. Like every sentence, it's just every second word is just like every swear word you can possibly imagine. The story overall is fine. I think it's pretty cool. It's just the execution is not there. I don't like how a lot of the characters are written. I think a lot of the jokes fall pretty flat. There's a couple times that I laughed at like a stupid joke, or sometimes there's a good joke and I laugh at that. I just feel like it's wasted potential. Now for the voice acting. I'll mainly focus on the voice acting from the show instead of the pilot, mainly because it's not the same. The voice actors from the pilot did a great job, but they weren't able to come in for the show I don't exactly remember the reason, but for whatever reason, they're not in the show. The ones in the show are pretty good. They're pretty good. The one I really think about the most is Husk being played by Keith David. If that Spawn reference didn't make a lot of sense, well, it should now. Wanna know why? Because Keith David, you know, yes, he's been in Disney projects, but he plays Husk in this show. You wanna know who else he plays? Spawn. He plays Spawn.
You god, little man. Not that gun, not that uniform, nothing. You wanna scare people? Fine. I need a scarecrow. You're gonna be my personal message board.
You actually think I'd be cleaning bottles and listening to you and moan all the time if you wasn't forcing me?
I like being forced.
Keep that to yourself, Nev.
Overall, the voice acting is okay. The singing is very good. I'm just not a huge musicals guy. Like, I'll watch musicals, but they usually have to be in association with something that I like the South Park movie. You know, I like South Park. It just happened to be a musical. I'll still watch it. Or the Muppet movie. You know, that was a really good movie. That was also a musical, but it was still a movie. The thing about the songs in this is that there's 2 per episode, and there's only 8 episodes. So that's just too much music all at once. I couldn't get past it. Overall, the voice acting is good. Just cutting back to the writing, they're given nothing to work with. For the overall ranking of the show, I give it like a 6 out of 10. It's amazing that a pilot on the internet got picked up by Amazon Prime. It could have got picked up by literally anything and I would have been impressed. But it is a relatively big streaming service and it holds a lot of good shows, so I'm honestly proud of Vivian for getting her show out there. I just wish the show was a bit better. As I mentioned earlier, Vivian Madrano also worked on another show that's really indie animation, or it was until of course Prime's putting that on there too. Helluva Boss. Once again, we'll start with the animation. Nothing too special. It's just better than Hazbin Hotel. It's expressive and it's a lot more life put into it when you know that these are independent artists and people that have actual thought and care put into the animation, even though once again, the writing isn't giving them anything, which brings me to my next ranking. The writing of the show is still pretty bad. The thing is, it's also written by Brandon Rogers, who plays a character in the show, Blitz, the O is silent. I like Brandon Rogers, but he's from an era in the internet that mainly focused on the swearing equals funny part, and he made live action skits that were about maybe 3 minutes long minimum, or like 7 minutes max. But those were short. Those were allowed to be very out there, and some of them were pretty offensive. I didn't take offense, it's just like in the titles they would usually put offensive. So I think him doing the writing for the show would have been beneficial if it actually changed the show that much. The show already swore that much, and you know, their humor isn't actually there. There hasn't been a single joke in Helluva Boss that I actually laughed at because it's usually intertwined with a bunch of swear words, so they say a bunch of different swear words in their joke where you miss the joke. And with that brings me to my next segment. The voice acting's fine. I'm honestly impressed they got the voice of Invader Zim in there. Again, Brandon Rogers plays a character, and overall he's fine. I like the character fine enough. I just don't really enjoy the show. I'm trying to give an honest review here, but it's so hard to review the show without getting upset. As a show, these 2 different shows that are technically one's a spin-off of the other, they both hurt. They both get me all riled up because the writing could be so much better. The direction could be so much better. It could all be so much better, but it isn't. It's just not. And that's the part that kills me every time. Voice acting's fine. Favorite performance is probably Brandon Rogers as Blitz, even though he's never actually said anything funny. Jesus. Overall, Helluva Boss is better than Hazbin Hotel, but not by much. Better animation, same level writing, no jokes, voice acting, whatever. 7.5 out of 10. No, just 7. 7 out of 10. I'm giving it one more than Helluva Boss because it's not worth it. And that was my very short reviews of Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss. Yeah, I don't like them, but I kind of still have to watch them. Let me explain. It's the same reason I'll watch something like Scooby-Doo, like the live action one from 2002. I can understand and I can very well see that it's not a good movie by any means, but I grew up with it. So I'm obviously gonna look at it as something I grew up with and gonna accept. I grew up with this, I'm gonna like it because this is what I liked when I was a kid. So it's more nostalgia for me. The pilot came out in 2019. The pilot for Hazbin Hotel came out in 2019. It was about 2020 by the time I watched it. So I was about a year late, but my buddy showed it to me. And I was in that age where, you know, I'm from a household that doesn't really swear that much. So obviously I thought the swearing jokes were funny, or just the swearing was funny. So when my friend showed me this pilot, I was ecstatic. I was so happy to see, like, there's a show for me out there. But then it took 5 years to make the show itself for 8 episodes. 5 years and you get 8 episodes? I get it, the pandemic probably had something to do with it, but even then, I know animation takes a long time, but 5 years for 8 episodes? That's ridiculous. The wait wasn't worth it, so I was 1, disappointed, and 2, I just got older and realized these jokes aren't funny. Anyways, I'll still watch the shows, just because I want to see where they're going. I have a feeling they can redeem themselves if they just have a good story. If the execution is good, then maybe there's hope for these two. It's rough. It's real difficult to rank these shows. And you know what? I'm gonna give a recommendation, and I'd be surprised if you haven't already watched this. If you want a good indie animation show to watch, go over to Glitch Productions. They got plenty, but the one I'm recommending, The Amazing Digital Circus. That show is damn good because it's just, the story is good, the acting, the animation is phenomenal for just a YouTube show. If you somehow want to not watch it on YouTube, they got the first 4 episodes on Netflix. That's an accomplishment. The characters are good. There is like swearing in the show, but it's like censored because it's like part of the show. You have to take my word for this, and if you don't like it, yeah, I don't really care. I'm just recommending this. Hey, if you like Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss, good for you. I like it to an extent, I just wish it was a little better. It's like, yeah, I watched Transformers Age of Extinction. The movie sucks, but I'm still gonna watch it. That's my review of Hazbin Hotel, Helluva Boss. Very short, not very descriptive. I just put down jot notes. I just want to get a video out there because I was working and I was doing all my scripts or whatever. We got new stuff coming up for you though, so just stay tuned. Go watch The Amazing Digital Circus. It's a good show.